Welcome to the Viva Network Training course. Today, we'd like to explore Unit 2, which talks about building a strong network identity. Under this unit, we'll cover 4 important areas: situational mapping, vision and purpose, building strong relationships, communicating effectively. We'll kick off the unit by exploring what situational mapping is and its role in building a strong network identity. Situational mapping is a systematic process of defining or identifying a problem or need and finding a way to address it. Before a network can work effectively, it needs to know about the issues, difficulties and challenges that children in its given area of operation are facing. The process provides clarity on the needs of children and what is already being done to help them, which can help to ensure that the actions of the network have a meaningful impact. Many things have to be considered before mapping out any programme. 1. Defining geographical boundaries. The network will need to define its limits or geographical boundaries. For example, the network locality may be a number of streets, a district, or even a whole city. Being clear about the size of these boundaries is important if we are to be clear about the zone within which we're intending to bring about change. This zone will help to bring focus to our work. For this change to be measured, we have to know the situation at the start in order to compare against it later. The first step, therefore, is to define the right area to research for situational mapping, to build the picture of the area, the needs of children in that community, and the current response. This will help to ensure that the network is relevant, not duplicating work that is already happening, and is working together strategically to achieve more than they could on their own. 2. Mapping of churches and organisations working with children in the network boundary. Mapping includes extensive research of churches, Christian NGOs and secular organisations. It's important to understand existing areas of focus and how these groups work. A comprehensive list of people, groups and projects is a good starting point for assessing the situation for any given area of operation. The network can use their findings to write a directory of churches and organisations and the focus of their work with children. This will be a vital resource for churches and organisations in the community, as it can be used to help them identify who to go to that is best placed to respond to the needs of a child. At the same time, it can help those working on similar issues to begin to work together. Once published, the directory of churches and organisations in the network can also be a pillar of the network identity, as people in the city will use the resource to access information on who is doing what for children, and will associate this with the network, giving them a clear idea of one of the values of the network. 3. Mapping the needs of children. Alongside the exercise of mapping churches and organisations working with children, the network is encouraged to map the needs of children through desk and field research. Situational mapping helps networks to better understand the context and needs of children in the network location. Outcomes will include understanding the numbers of people who live there and identifying different people groups, such as how many children in different age groups are affected by different issues. We may also learn about parents and the makeup of families, as well as issues and challenges they face, all of which have an impact on the children. Both the mapping of churches and organisations and the mapping of children can be analysed together to produce a situational mapping report, with assessment of children's needs, the gaps in care, and recommendations for where the network should focus its collaborative programmes, providing foundational evidence for strategic planning, future collaboration, and solution strategies. The mapping process requires planning and research to plan better for programmes and initiatives. For instance, you might be interested in knowing why the number of girls dropping out of school is increasing. First step will be to understand the cause, the interventions already in place and who made them, as well as their impact, and any collaborative action taken, the different players and what they have done to address this problem. And lastly, identify gaps and how to address them. Once we have all this under consideration, we can start the process. The process involves discussing the approaches to be used. These approaches can be either quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative looks at figures, and qualitative involves storytelling, or understanding or interpretation of the people and situations we are investigating. Throughout the data collection process, team members should also consider how to engage stakeholders, and these could include opinion leaders, policymakers, partners and potential beneficiaries. Ways to obtain stakeholder input include in-depth interviews, focus group discussions, community dialogue, small group meetings, or participatory stakeholder workshops. In conclusion, situational mapping is very important at the start of every programme because it helps us determine what the gap is between the existing situation and what is desired or what should be. There is no way a problem can be addressed if no research has been made to establish its root cause. Also, it's not a one-off exercise. Your network is on a journey towards deeper research. New needs of children and for the network will arise, and next steps of research will include baseline surveys about a specific focus to identify over time what influence the network will have. We encourage networks to review their situational mapping report regularly, at a minimum at least every 5 years, to ensure the network continues to have a clear picture of the needs of children in the cities where you're working and the effectiveness of the response.